Hi, everybody. Welcome to the official live stream of Veteran Lifestyle Magazine. I am Annette Wittenberger, and we are live. Thank you for tuning in to Veteran Lifestyle Magazine's official live stream, where we bring stories that inspire, heal, and uplift. Welcome, everyone, to today's incredible conversation. I am beyond excited to introduce to you our guest, Dr. Anthony Randall. Bear with me, I had to shorten his bio because it's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm going to go ahead with the short version. He is a transformative leader, executive coach, and founder of Vanguard XXI. With a career spanning at the U.S. Army Special Operations, Major League Baseball, Fortune 500 companies, and higher education, Dr. Randall has dedicated his life to forging leaders and driving excellence. A retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, Ranger, and Chaplain, he has served through 6 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, developed high-impact leadership programs, and coached over 17,000 professionals to reach their highest potential. He is also the best-selling author, ethics expert, and martial artist who knows what it takes to lead with resilience, character, and purpose. So today we're talking about all things leadership, personal excellence, and unlocking your full potential. How do you build a life of impact? How do you break through mediocrity and lead with a purpose? Dr. Randall has the insights, experience, and wisdom to help us navigate these questions and more. So get ready. This is going to be a powerful conversation. So drop your questions in the comments if you're watching us live. Share this stream, and let's dive in. So thank you, Dr. Randall. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and share as much as you want before we start digging into the questions.
All right. Sounds good, Annette. Thank you so much for having me on and look forward to talking with you and Joe today. It's pretty simple. My name's Anthony, and I'm a keynote speaker, a veteranpreneur, and an executive coach. Let's go.
So what inspired you to launch Vanguard? Did I say it right? XXI?
Yeah, Vanguard XXI, Vanguard 21. It's the Roman numerals for 21. Yeah.
You're right. I'm so obvious that I missed it. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And what inspired you to launch it, and how has your leadership philosophy evolved over time?
Yeah, so I originally launched this a few years after I got out of the Army the first time. So I did 5 years active duty military, and then left the military, went in the corporate world. If you want to get into that story a little bit today, we can. And it was a couple years into the corporate world where I was working in territory sales and management for a pharmaceutical company, and just recognized that a lot of the leadership programs that we went to, in these big sales conferences, that there was more. So I decided at 27 to write a book, which now sits in my attic, and people try to sell it on eBay for more than what it was really sold for. Typically signed by author, never read, never opened, perfect condition, right? So, because who wants to listen to a 27-year-old, right? So I don't know. So I started that company, 20 plus years ago, wanting to do leadership consulting. And a couple years after I was in the corporate world, I was called into full-time ministry, which is part of my story. So called into full-time ministry, sold everything we owned, left North Carolina, went back to Colorado, where my wife and I are from, and went to seminary and pastored a church out there with the purpose of coming back into the Army as an Army chaplain. And so I shut the company down and forgot about it. And then in 2021, I retired from the military, and I stood the company back up again as a full-time, full spectrum leadership development and executive coaching company. So the whole reason why I started the company was to transform leaders, to forge excellence, and win. I'm just a big believer in human flourishing, and I'm a big believer in transforming leaders' lives, forging organizational excellence, and winning. And we typically do that through developing high character and high culture organizations.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's almost like I should have just been taking notes about everything you said. Good thing I have your bio. But for everybody else, just go back and watch the replay, because it's a lot, and it's amazing. So having coach leaders across industries like the military, corporate sector, and professional sports, what leadership qualities are universally essential?
I think the number one thing is growth mindset, right? I think you've got to have a growth mindset in order to continue to move forward in the world. And so I'm a big believer in that. I've been a martial artist for 30 years. I was just on the jiu-jitsu mat this afternoon for my hour of power that I get 4 days a week, and rolling with a bunch of very experienced martial artists. And so in the martial arts, we talk about having a white belt mentality, and the white belt mentality comes from a story of Sensei Jigoro Kano, the father of judo, father of modern day martial arts. And the story goes that on his deathbed, his students and his closest family members asked him what his last requests were. And the father of modern day martial arts and judo said, "I want you to bury me in my white belt." And kind of shocked those around him because he's Sensei Kano. And he said, "I came into this world as a learner, and I want to leave this world as a learner." And so that's what we call white belt mentality. And in sports psychology, mental performance, the high performance space, we talk about having a growth mindset or a white belt mentality. So I think that's the number one thing. I think the second one is curiosity. As an executive coach, all of our coaches with our company, we're all International Coaching Federation coaches. I think it's much more important to be curious about the client that you're coaching than trying to demonstrate your competence, and how smart you are. We're not consultants, we're executive coaches. So growth mindset and curiosity, I think, are two really important things to have.
I love both of those. And the first one I want to go back to is I'm fascinated with the jiu-jitsu. Fascinated with that. So my brother has been doing jiu-jitsu, I don't even know how many years, but he absolutely loved it. We actually both grew up doing Taekwondo.
Yeah, that's how I started too.
Okay, great. So he switched from Taekwondo to jiu-jitsu. He loves jiu-jitsu more. Yep. My other brother and I have a first degree black belt in Taekwondo. He has a second degree black belt. But it's been years, too many years. So I'm curious, since you've done both, why did you choose jiu-jitsu over Taekwondo?
I mean, I did Taekwondo in high school. I fought in the Junior Olympics and medaled in the Junior Olympics, and I really enjoyed that. When I went to West Point, I fought on the karate team my plebe year, and then the karate team was restructured. And so I left the team and started training with the Army Judo team with the sensei there, a guy named Sensei Emilio Claudio, and we call him Sensei Reno. And Reno began to teach several of us after judo Japanese jiu-jitsu. And so I earned a first degree black belt. Today I have a third degree black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu. And Reno is still training. He's 87 years old. He still trains the Army Judo team. And it's really cool because now my daughter is a brown belt and an All-American judo player on that team. And she's now training under my sensei. So it's really cool. When I got back into the military after being out after 5 years, the Army Combatives program had started to be put together. And so I got involved in the Army Combatives program and started doing jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu in 2010. And so I've trained consistently for the last 15 years.
That's so freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I keep considering trying that because let's back up for a second. Can you just explain how the martial arts has framed you as a person? Because I remember taking it, and mine was Master Kim, and Master Kim was this. He wasn't very tall, but he was just a built old man. And he was very much a disciplinarian. If I was a minute late, it was automatically knuckles on the ground, leg up. If I was talking or laughing, which I always do in everything I do, I got in trouble. It was like every little thing, but he made us tough, mentally tough. And those of us who studied under him, we will always remember Master Kim and the things that he did for us. And so I'm just curious, from high school till now, like what has kept you into continuing that path?
Yeah, so I think it's living the martial way. There was a wonderful book that I read in high school by a guy named Robin Forrester, I believe was his name, called Living the Martial Way. And that really put me on the path to developing a lifelong warrior ethos. And so between martial arts and the martial way and my Christian faith, that has really shaped my idea of understanding human flourishing, understanding empowering human beings, and understanding how to live a life as a warrior. So just because I retired from the Army 4 years ago and have had 7 surgeries and, have all sorts of issues with my body, one of the healthiest things, since we're starting talking about veteran lifestyle, martial arts is a tribe. It's a very special tribe. And whether it's a tribe in the military of those of us who train, or whether it's when you retire, the family, the tribe of guys that I have the privilege to train with, it helps me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationally. And so if there are veterans out there that have retired or left the service, and they're looking for a tribe, and they're looking for some sort of physiological health, I would try the martial arts. And, it really doesn't matter what martial art you try. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's what I've trained the last 15 years. I still do judo with my daughter. I have to be very careful now because she's become very dangerous. And she's a very good jiu-jitsu player as well. And as I'm getting older, one of the things that I would like to begin studying in the next year or two is Tai Chi, and just a greater art of breathing and balance and movement, just for my own physiological health. I'll be 51 here in a couple months. So I'm a big believer in that, in the warrior ethos. I think that's the one thing that's missing in our military today, is this emphasis on the warrior ethos and hand-to-hand combat. And that might sound crazy for a chaplain to say, but, going to a combatives course and then not doing it anymore is like qualifying on a weapon once and then not shooting on a regular basis, and understanding how to, utilize the weapon systems that you have. So martial arts and the martial way, I think Army units, Marine units, any unit that's going to be involved in close combat, and that close combat we're seeing today in Ukraine and Russia, we just saw it with Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah. If we fight a near-peer threat like China, we are going to be in a close combat situation, regardless of all the great technology that we have. And I actually interviewed some IDF soldiers several years ago that were here in the United States for some of our officer courses, and they study Krav Maga. And they said that their success in fighting in a subterranean complex underground in tunnels, their study of Krav Maga, it just wasn't their ability to fight hand to hand in a closed space, but it was the ability to exercise self-regulation, breathing, self-control, proportionality, proportional responses, and also spatial awareness, not only with themselves, but also spatial awareness of those around them. So I'm a big believer in that. I think every military unit should be training in some form of combatives every single day, or at least a couple times a week. There you go. You got me. I'll get off my soapbox now on fighting.
No. I think you are definitely onto something there, because it is a whole different community. It's a whole different way of thinking, and I think we've forgotten that. We've forgotten what martial arts can do for us, and I wish I would have continued on over the years. But in my head, I was like, oh my God, my mom's making me go every single day.
It's not too late, Annette.
I know. I am so broken. My back hurts, my knee hurts, but I think, but I really do. I've been considering it for a while. I really think I need to get back into it, because there is this whole different kind of mindset with that. And we forgot about it. I should have never taken it for granted. I should have listened to my mom. But I think once I got my black belt, I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
No, not true. I think I might go back into it.
Just one last thing on that. I think with the martial way and with the ethos, it teaches character, right? I mean, the character attributes that we expect in the martial arts are the same character attributes we'd expect of warriors: honor, respect, integrity, forgiveness, right? Proportionality, selflessness, teamwork, all of those elements, tenacity. being able to exercise proportional violence, and also being able to exercise justice and peace and nonviolence. So, the attributes of the martial way is incredible.
You're right. You got me thinking. I think I might. I think I might be looking into something next month. I appreciate that so much. I think it's so great, and I'm impressed, and I love that your kids are doing it. I love that. My kids did it for a while, but they acted like me. Oh my gosh, Mom, you're gonna make me go. I'm like, you should, but yeah. I'm also curious, how has your background as a chaplain and pastor influenced your leadership approach?
Yeah, that was a transformational experience for sure. So I got injured severely in the Army on a jump master accident. I was a jump master, and I was jump mastering an aircraft at night. Most of your audience know what that is. Basically, imagine hanging out of a perfectly good airplane out the passenger door at 155 miles an hour by your fingertips, right? And I was looking for the drop zone and lining up aircraft, and I was not wearing eye protection, and I detached my retina, and so I went blind in my eye, and lost all vision, and had to have multiple surgeries. My commander told me I was no longer worthy of being a paratrooper. Tried to get me out of the unit, and I got very angry at God. I got very angry at the military, and I kind of checked out. And so that's why I decided to leave the military. And it was through that experience that I really re-engaged my faith that I was raised with in my childhood. But I thought I was going to be in the corporate world. And so, long story short, I had a dream. I believe God spoke to me in a dream and said, "You're going back in the Army as a chaplain." Realize I'm living on a golf course, making six figures a year as a corporate guy at 28 years old. Life was pretty good, but God spoke to my wife and told her the same thing. So
Really?
that's the first time I really surrendered my life to God and to practice my faith. And so it was in that process of that transformation that God began to do a new work in me. I say to people all the time, it's hard to put the chaplain into the ranger. It's even harder to get the ranger out of the chaplain. But I learned that through transformational leadership, I could do both with excellence. And so I'll never forget the church that I worked at in seminary. The senior pastor that hired me had actually hired me to come do a keynote on leadership. And I got done with the keynote, and he basically said, "Hey, you've got a lot of great leadership attributes. You've got no idea how to be a pastor." He said, "Don't you want to be an Army chaplain?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'll tell you what, if you can help me lead this congregation as an executive pastor and help lead our denominational churches as a conference administrator, I'll teach you how to be a pastor." And I said, "You got a deal." And so I'm very thankful to a guy named Dennis. Pastor Dennis really taught me how to have a pastor's heart, how to truly love God and love people. And just a quick story on that. The first time I ever got to preach, and we're out in the front range of Colorado, and we had a lot of ranchers and farmers and some pretty sturdy dudes. And the first Sunday I preached, I actually was surprised. I got a little teary-eyed in my sermon. And there were two of our deacons, big dudes. One guy played college football at the University of Wyoming. And they started to laugh at me in the sermon, like they're smirking and pointing at me. And I stopped in the middle of my sermon, and I said, "Hey, if you two are laughing at me right now because I'm crying, I'll meet you out behind this church after service, and we'll see who's going to be crying." And and then I went back and finished my sermon like nothing happened. And the next day, I remember coming in from seminary. My pastor, Dennis, he sat me down. He's like, "Anthony, did you threaten to beat up two of our deacons in the middle of your sermon yesterday?" And I was like, "Well, Dennis, they were laughing at me, they were laughing." And he's like, you can't threaten to beat up your congregation from the pulpit, man." So, there's a lot of things I had to learn. So I think being in ministry for 15 years, the biggest thing that I learned was the importance of how to love God and then love people. And when we love God and we love people, we really create opportunities and space for people to flourish as human beings. And it was a great honor to love soldiers and love their families and serve them as a chaplain in many different facets. So that's probably the biggest thing I learned as a chaplain was that balance of loving God and loving people, speaking truth and love. It's what this shepherd's crook is for. That was given to me by the Ranger chaplains that I served with, supervisory chaplain. And there's 4 sides to that shepherd's crook: pastor, prophet, priest, and ranger. And so that's one thing that I always try to encourage chaplains in the military to recognize is you really have 4 roles. You have the role of a pastor, you have the role of a priest, you have the role of a prophet, and then you have a role of a person, and who you are. So there you go. That's what I learned from being a chaplain.
That was beautiful, because I've had 2 chaplains in my career who really had an impact on me, and I think they're very special people, and that's a hard role to fill, I believe, because there's so many of us who just we have a hard time believing, especially during wartime. And I just what I've seen from my peers, well, they're angry because why did this happen? Why did we lose soldiers if there was a God? And it's just it's a conflicting thing out there that's happening, and it's so hard to bring that back. And I don't know, it's just very difficult. So I understand it. And I also, over the years, I've lost my way, found my way, and lost it and came back again. So it's a process. But what I'd like to know is, when you got that calling, were you immediately accepting of it, or was it conflicting? Did you struggle, or did you go, this is it? Because there's times in my life where I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. But then when I get angry, I'm like, well, this is some crap. Like, why is he doing this? And didn't I learn my lesson, or whatever the case is? So how did you work through that?
And I think it's a great question. I kicked against the goads for many years. I pushed back for many years, and it's kind of like being in a river, if you've ever, or at the beach at the ocean, if you just stand ankle deep or knee deep, there's a lot of resistance and it knocks you off balance, right? But if you've gotten into the middle of a river and gotten to the current, it just flows. And so there had been about maybe 9 months or so before I received that calling that I really went into a very deep place of deep work spiritually, journaling, studying of scripture, praying, meditation. And so I think my heart was in a place and in a space to hear that message and to receive it and to act on it. Yeah. And, I think that was my first step into practicing excellence, right? To choose a more excellent way. And that's what this book, Practicing Excellence, is about, right? It's about how do you align your passion, purpose, and precision. Many times when we feel unfulfilled, when we're angry, when we're frustrated, when the world around us controls us more than we have, control what we can control, it's because our passion, purpose, and precision, they're not aligned. But when we can align our passion with truly who we are and what just gives us energy and fulfills us, we can align that with our purposeful gifts and abilities. What are the gifts and abilities that we've been given to live with purposefully every day? And we can align that with precision. Where precisely can we exercise that passion and purpose? When we align passion, purpose, and precision, we can live lives of excellence. The one thing that always kind of flips us around is where that place is. And so when veterans transition out of the military, they may have a huge passion for leadership or for people or for operations or for entrepreneurialism or for helping other veterans or whatever it is. And all those veterans have these incredible gifts and abilities and talents that we've developed in the military. All of us have developed and learned skills of leadership, working with people and planning and operating and doing these things. But what tips over the apple cart is, where am I supposed to do that? Where precisely am I supposed to find that spot and find that place? And, we all know with transitioning veterans, it typically takes, 18 to 24 months to help people find that sweet spot. And then even then, sometimes they transition. But if you don't have your passion aligned with your purpose, that precision is really hard. And that's where practicing a life of excellence is difficult. But when you align those 3, you can live a more excellent way.
I really love that. And as you were speaking about that, there's one thing that I've been I've been trying to instill into the things that I do, and what I try to tell other people is to do what sets your soul on fire.
Mhm.
If it fuels you and you believing it, then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
You keep going down the path that you're supposed to be on, and the rest will follow.
Yep.
And it's hard though. Entrepreneurship is not it's no joke.
That's
But but if you wake up each day and you're like, let's just try again, then you just keep going. And if you have a day where you're just like, I just can't right now, then it's okay to walk away and come back again. You have to just learn to give yourself grace. It took me years to figure that out. But I think those three things that you had mentioned, and then the whole, if it fuels you, then you do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely go after it.
If I put my chaplain hat on for a second,
Yes.
I think that what's behind that passion theologically is a calling. And so if we truly believe that we've been created by a creator, then that creator created us with a purpose. And so I believe that when we become more spiritually aligned in our faith,
Yeah.
we are more open to receiving or seeing or understanding that calling.
Yes.
And that calling, if it's truly divine and it's truly given to you, it can't be taken away by anyone or anything. And so the question is how do you use that to fuel you every day with the purposeful gifts and abilities that you've been given, that you've developed, whatever may be the case, and move forward.
Absolutely. As a chaplain, I'm 100% on that. And it does. You have to be strong in your faith to truly be able to open up to that, because it is hard. It
Yep.
is hard. But I think over the years, and now that I'm going to be 50 this year, I'm like, you know what? This is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm just going to accept it. And through all the struggles, there's going to be success, and it's okay.
Yep.
And it's okay.
And people ask me all the time, well, Chaplain, what if I don't believe? What if I don't have faith in a God or a higher power? I've found talking with other people throughout the world, typically it's some other sort of philosophical worldview where they find that space at. So in the military, of course, a lot of people really enjoy stoicism in the military. And, I can sit there and rap with Marcus Aurelius and Cicero or whatever other philosophical writings you want to talk about. Some people find that helpful. Or going back to martial arts, some people find the martial way and some of the different principles in the martial way from some of the different Eastern philosophies to be helpful. But for me, personally, it's knowing whose I am because of who I am because of whose I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. And I just wish more people could be aligned with that. But, we can't change everybody. We can just try to be the best version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So I want to get into something that's amazing again off of your background, because I'm just amazed and inspired by everything you've done, and it certainly feels like God has definitely put you where you were supposed to be during all these moments of success in your life. And one of the things is you have 7 coaching certifications and ICF accredited courses. So what distinguishes an exceptional coach versus an average one? But I also want to highlight too that you had mentioned before how there are some coaches who want to help people, but then there's other ones who are just there to try to what did you say? You said who just want to brag, so to speak. They're just there to just be like, I'm a coach. But what are you really doing with that? So what distinguishes those two?
Yeah. I think many times our success comes out of failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got into coaching because I felt that a little bit in over my head. So I had the privilege to serve for 8 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates as a chaplain and as a leadership coach. And I was hired as a leadership coach without having any leadership coaching background. So what I was doing, and what a lot of people that call themselves coaches do, is I was taking my life experiences and training that I've had in other areas. For me, it was specifically counseling, and using that to coach people, which is, well and good. But what I found was that what I found was, as I was watching high performance baseball coaches coach, how they were coaching people was different than how I was counseling people. And so again, it goes back to that white belt mentality and that growth mindset. And I was like, you know what? I really need to expand my expertise in helping people through professional coaching. And so that's what led me to go get, those, several coaching certifications and become an International Coaching Federation coach. I think what separates an amateur who calls himself a coach versus a professional who calls himself a coach is professional certification and credentialing, right? If you needed to have heart surgery, would you go to someone that claims they're a doctor, or would you try to find, someone within your care network who actually is a heart surgeon, who's actually had to do that, right? And so it was through the International Coaching Federation, it was through pursuing these coaching certifications that I found a whole new world of how to help people through coaching. Because counseling, consulting, mentoring, and coaching are actually 4 different and distinct areas of helping people. And many people think that consulting is coaching. Someone brings you their problems and you tell them how you would fix it because of your 30 years of experience. That's not coaching. That's consulting. Or someone comes and says, I want you to mentor me. And so they ask you questions and you give them answers. That's not coaching. That's mentoring. Or someone comes to you for, marriage issues or mental health issues or whatever may be the case, and you use some sort of modality off a bookshelf and some sort of counseling, therapy, and modality to help them get from the past to the present moving forward. That's counseling. Coaching in its purest form is empowering the client to come up with their own solutions, to be curious about themselves, to discover within them what the capabilities and potential that they have to work through that. And so coaching, I think, is really about coaching the person and not coaching problems. Consultants solve problems. Coaches transform people's lives. And so when you go through a professional coaching process, you begin to learn how to coach. And just to sum it up, so today we have 5 coaching courses with our company. And so people can come to us and they can get their International Coaching Federation certification and then pursue their credentialing as an ICF, ACC, PCC, or MCC coach. The number one thing that we get from folks after about the first day of our coaching course is, oh, I definitely wasn't coaching before. Like, this is coaching. Okay, this is totally different than what I was doing. So it's a huge revelation for folks, and it's empowering. So I think that's what separates it. If you're a coach out there, if you're calling yourself a coach and you haven't gone through a professional coaching course, specifically an International Coaching Federation professional coaching course, I would encourage you to have a growth mindset and pursue a professional coaching credential. It will change your life and it'll change your clients' lives. Aren't your clients worth that?
Wow. I just want to do like a mic drop. That's great. That's great advice. So with that, what advice do you give professionals transitioning to leadership roles for the first time?
It's fun to watch my daughter now working her way through West Point, because I went to West Point also.
Oh.
It's kind of fun to watch her through this development process as she gets ready to become an officer. And so we have daddy-daughter conversations, and then we have Colonel Randall, Cadet Randall conversations. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, man, I tell you what, if Lieutenant Colonel Randall could get a hold of Second Lieutenant Randall, 25 years ago, this is what I would do to that guy. So I think the number one thing is the principle of slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And, high performance leaders, they want to jump in, they want to make stuff happen, they want to get things done, right? They want to be change agents. They want to take the organization to another level, and that's awesome. But I think when you step into a new leadership position, just sitting back and observing for a period of time, maybe it's 30 days or 45 or 60 days, and just gain some organizational awareness. Learn what the written rules in that organization are. Learn what the unwritten rules are. Right? Learn who's got the titles and the roles, and then learn who's really in charge around there, who's moving that culture,
Yeah.
So I think that's one is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. The second one is know what kind of leadership styles you need to exercise. So, we teach 6 different emotionally intelligent leadership styles that Dan Goleman writes quite a bit about in his book, Primal Leadership. So, high EQ leaders can use more than one leadership style. One leadership style does not fix everything. You have to know which leadership style to use based upon people and based upon an organization. So do you use a visionary or democratic or affiliative or democratic style that are typically resonant? Do you use a pace setting or a commanding style, which can be dissonant if used the wrong way, but short term can be very effective? So, how do you lead? And that's something, and the last thing I would just say on that is you step in leadership positions is it's really just 3 principles. Who are you as a leader of trusted character? How do you think morally and ethically and make decisions? And then how do you lead with emotional intelligence? It's really those 3 questions. Who are you? How do you think? And how do you lead? Yeah, there you go.
That's no, that's very powerful. Joe says it sounds like a bit like a coach guide. People sounds a bit like a coach guide people to develop what they already have within themselves.
Yeah, we talk a lot in coaching about partnering with people.
Okay.
We talk a lot about facilitating client growth, evoking awareness, actively listening, being present, and being on a journey with the client. But the client's always in the lead. The minute the coach takes over and begins to lead the client, we shut down the neuroscience, we shut down the neural pathways in people's minds and in their hearts on where they were going and developing that. I mean, think about your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you seen your kids growing and they're learning and they're doing things? And then as a parent, we come in over the top and we go, that's wrong. Don't do it that way. Do it this way. And
Yeah.
you shut down, right?
Right.
It's the same thing with coaching high-level executives. I mean, we coach high-level executives. They're smart people. They've been in those industries and in those places for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to be on a journey with them, and I'm following where they're going, and I'm asking powerful questions transformationally to get them to another place, to another level.
Wow. So what's next for you in Vanguard 21? any exciting projects on the horizon?
Well, we've grown about 30% a year over the last 4 years. Last year we grew last year and we scaled our company. We added several coaches and facilitators. So today we have a team of about 13 people, phenomenal leaders from across marketplaces and industries. We hire a lot of veterans. So more than half of our team are veterans, and a handful all serve together. So it's a lot of fun serving with your friends in this space, number one. Number two, one of my goals with Vanguard 21 was to employ veterans. So it is such a joy that we're able to provide veterans who are in the leadership and coaching space revenue. It's exciting every year to look at our P&L statement and see how much, how much we paid 99s last year to coach and facilitate. That's exciting for me because that means people are winning, right?
Yeah.
So that's big. This year, what we're doing is, we're adding our ICF Level 2 course this year, and we'll have our first ICF Level 2 program this spring, and then another one this fall, and then we're adding an ICF Level 3 course. And so we'll be a full spectrum coaching certification organization with all 3 levels of ICF certification. And we're doing that with one of our really good friends, one of our colleagues, Dr. Kim Zovak. So Kim is a very successful MCC coach, one of the few in the world. And so we've partnered with her to develop that curriculum. So we're very thankful for her being on our team. So that's one that we're doing there. And then the second this year is with the book that's come out. It just won the International Impact Book Award for Social Change, and it was an Amazon bestseller. And so the other thing I'm doing this year is a lot more keynote speaking. So trying to do 2 to 3 keynote events a month throughout the year. And so always looking for an opportunity to share that message of practicing excellence with people.
That is so great. Like I said, I'm truly inspired by your whole story, your message, your career, and yet you're still a humble person. You're still here. I don't want to say normal. You're just a regular guy who's just
Regular guy.
It's a regular guy who doesn't come off as I don't like to say these things, but you're a humble, nice guy who just wants to truly help people.
Yeah.
And it's hard to come by, especially with your background. You've done so much and you truly just want to help people, and that's all you've ever wanted to do.
Yep. Transform leaders, forge excellence, and win. That's it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing. So I mean, I thank you for your time, because you are a busy man raising children to be amazing people, and it's just truly an honor to have you on here.
Yeah. To your last point there, a very good friend of mine, Clint Hurdle, was the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates for the 8 seasons that I was there. Clint is one of the winningest managers in Major League Baseball. He managed the Colorado Rockies to the 2007 World Series.
Wow.
He's a phenomenal man. I would highly recommend that your guests pick up his new book. So he just wrote a new book called Hurdleisms. And Clint is one of the most dynamic, incredible leaders I've ever been around. And he has these things that we've called hurdleisms, these sayings, these pithy quotes that are just, they're great. And in that book, he shares several hurdleisms, but one of them is this. Clint always shares with us there's 2 kinds of people in the world, those who are humble and those who are about to be humbled. So to your last point, I would prefer to choose the first and being humble, because if we do not, and it says that right there on Micah 6:8, which is one of my favorite scripture verses up there, that what does God require of us but to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly in the sight of our God. So I would rather be humble and try to pursue humility than be humbled.
You're right, and I've been both.
Yeah, humbled. I mean, we've all been there, right? I've done both of those, and I know which one I would prefer now.
Yes, and I think it sometimes it just takes people more than once to be humbled to actually go, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should change my thought process. So it'll come in time. It'll come. Teach my kids that. But any last words or thoughts or advice you want to give to our audience?
Well, Annette, I would just have one, and that is, going back to the warrior ethos. I have the privilege to share a keynote on the warrior ethos at the Maneuver Center of Excellence here in April. And, my message is warrior ethos is about preparing, practicing, protecting, and persevering so that we can train, fight, and win, our nation's wars. And for those listeners that are out there today, if you're a veteran, how are you preparing yourself every day? And that comes down to a spiritual, philosophical perspective. How are you practicing that, personally and with others? How are you protecting that in your tribe? How are you protecting that in your home? How are you protecting that with, the closest around you? And that leads to the last one, which is persevering. And veterans are some of the most anti-fragile, persevering people in the world. I'm tired of veterans casting a shadow themselves, or a shadow being cast on them, that we're needy, we're fragile, we're everybody's got an issue. I mean, it's become a virtue signal, and really, veterans are some of the most anti-fragile, capable people in this world. I think they're some of the best entrepreneurs in this world. And so, if you're listening today and you're a veteran, make sure every day you continue to play up, show up, play up, and finish. And you can only do that with a tribe. You can't do that by yourself. So find a good BJJ dojo, find a good church, find a good community service organization, like Rotary or Kiwanis. Get involved in your kids' organizations, whatever it is, but find a tribe and invest in others, and be open to letting others invest in you. So that's how I would end it today, is make sure that you continue to persevere out there. Finish well, guys and gals.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and for your time and for your words of wisdom. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Annette. It's been an honor. Thank you so much. Thanks for the magazine. It's great. So
Thank you.
excited about all the writing and speaking that you do as well, and what you and Joe do.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to put you backstage really quick.
Okay.
All right, that wraps up this segment, guys, but I just wanted to leave you with some closing thoughts. Here at Veteran Lifestyle Magazine, we are dedicated to sharing real stories, challenges, and triumphs that come with life during and after military service. Whether it's transitioning to civilian life, finding purpose beyond the uniform, or navigating personal struggles like mental health, relationships, and career shifts, we are here to have those conversations. As you continue to walk your own path, know that Veteran Lifestyle Magazine will always be a space where veterans, military families, and supporters can find resources, inspiration, and a sense of community. We are committed to bringing you the stories, voices, and insights that matter most. You are not alone in this journey. Let's keep moving forward together. So, here are 3 things that you can do to stay in the know. Join our email list to learn more about Veteran Lifestyle Magazine by heading over to our website right here. You can find us on LinkedIn and click the bell that's on the top right corner of the LinkedIn page to get the latest journey with the magazine. Like, subscribe, and follow Veteran Lifestyle Magazine and all the conversations that we're having on your favorite social media or podcast platform. Thank you very much for being here. We'll see you on the next podcast at Veteran Lifestyle Magazine.